Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to another episode on Life Signatures Radio. We have been discussing a new series. It's going to be short and crisp, and it's a funny one. Maybe not so funny. But we're talking about how to slap yourself out of a funny moment. How to slap yourself out of a mess. You've messed up. How do you get out of that particular mess? And this is inspired by Will Smith slapping Chris Rock across the face at the Oscars. And you know how that went, and so on and so forth. So we're taking some time to look at how this can be done, how you find yourself in a mess inevitably as you do life. But how do you clean yourself up? How do you rise up? I want us to see one more way you can be able to do that. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
T.D. Jakes, I believe, is the guy who said in one of his iconic messages, and of course, for the most part, all his messages are normally iconic. But he said, sometimes when you are discovered, or when your mess is discovered, people act as if they have none. People behave as if they do not have any mess of their own. And we saw that when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, and I'm not defending anybody here. I'm just saying that sometimes we do mess, and I'm looking at how we can be able to get ourselves out of a mess. But when Chris Rock was slapped by Will Smith, different types of people started throwing words at Will Smith and started saying that his career is over. You know, they started writing his obituary and career obituary and so on. But I was of the opinion that whatever happened in that place, if you are going to blame Will Smith and leave out Chris Rock, I don't think you're being objective, because he was cracking a joke. Chris Rock was cracking a joke at the expense of somebody else. So anyway, let me not belabor that point. Let me just go ahead and do a recap of what we talked about yesterday. The first thing, if you're going to get yourself out of a mess, if you're going to slap yourself out of a mess, and let me just qualify and say that slap is an acrostic, S.l.a.p.ing, how you can slap yourself. So the first way, which is an S, is to realize that sliding is inevitable. Even as you live in this life, you ain't perfect. The worst you can do is try to walk around seeking perfection. You cannot be perfect. You cannot help yourself. You cannot be perfect. At some point in time, you're going to let yourself down, let alone letting your parents or your spouse or someone else down. But you, at some point in time, are going to mess and let yourself down. When that happens, remember this: to err is human. You are prone to wander. You are prone to fall. But then learn this: if you never failed, if you never messed, you wouldn't know what place in your life to strengthen. You only know what place in your life where your weakness lies, so you can build necessary boundaries around it. So failing or falling into a mess can be turned into a silver lining at the end of the day on that dark cloud, if you look carefully. That's how you get yourself out of a mess. That for every failure you find yourself in, for every mess you find yourself in, there could be a benefit in it. You can actually turn it around and make it a benefit. Chris Rock, Will Smith, they apologized and all that stuff and so on. And hopefully we'll never see such a debacle again. And I said yesterday that some of us, we have some messes that if they put them on the screen, like we saw Will Smith's mess on the screen, if we put our messes on the screen, Lord have mercy. Anyway, the second way you're going to pull yourself out of a mess, remember how to slap yourself out of a mess. So L stands for this: life has a foundation. Life has a foundation. You see, all our actions are predicated on a certain root. They come from somewhere. They are no arbitrary actions. They are no unexplained actions. There is always going to be a trigger. There's always going to be a cause. And then there's going to be an effect. He slapped Chris Rock because of his values. He felt his values and his love for his wife. If he cared little about what Chris Rock was doing, cutting into his wife and, exposing her publicly, internationally, worldwide actually, on TV, he would have just let it slip. But the reason as to why he reacted was because he cherished some values. Those are his roots. Those are his roots that his life depends on. Chris Rock made the cruel joke because of the same thing, by the way. As in his actions were being dictated by what he values or what he doesn't value, for that matter. And the same thing with all of us. Our actions will most certainly reveal what we cherish, what we hate, what we hold dear, and what we use as an anchor for our souls, an anchor for our life, for the kind of things that we want to do. Perhaps Will Smith thought that the anchor of family and the value of privacy and empathy were violated, so much so that he had to make a statement about it. He rose up and slapped the guy. Well, he stood up for his wife, he stood up for his values. I do believe so. But people say that he laughed at first. But I will tell you that you will do the same if you found yourself in the audience where someone is cracking a joke against your wife. I mean, you are not oriented that this is going to happen. It comes from out of the blue. So how many times have you found yourself half laughing, and then it registers in your brain, wait a minute, this is not good, this is wrong, this is wrong. Let me tell you something about comedy, because Chris Rock was basically making people laugh, as an MC. His predisposition in the functions that he was dispensing that day was to crack jokes and make people laugh. Have you ever noticed that when you go to a comedy show, you are prone to laugh even when he says absolutely nothing funny? Because your mind is already prepared. And so Will Smith might have laughed initially, but then he realized, oh, wait a minute, this is crude, this is stupid. And that's when he stood up for his wife. I will tell you, you might have done the same thing if you are in the comedy environment. You're prone to laugh at anything before your brain processes it. That's how it is. But remember this: every action that you do has a place from where it's coming from. Always review your anchor in life. Always know what it is that anchors you, and always strengthen your anchor, by the way. Always reaffirm your values and what it is that matters to you the most, and always stand firm for them, because the colossus of who you are lies in what you hold dear. Who you are, what you do, is connected by a gel of what you value, what you hold dear. So if someone came and did something that goes against your values, chances are that you might, react. So at all times, even when you find yourself in a mess, don't go against your values. Strengthen those values. Probably stand up for them. Maybe you might not slap someone as Will Smith did, but reaffirm those values. Make a statement. If someone pushes your values and compromises your values, let it not slip. Let it not just happen. So rise up for those values and reaffirm what those values are. Let people know what is important, what matters to you. That is how you get yourself out of a mess. It's the second way you get yourself out of a mess. Tomorrow we're going to look at the third way in which you can get yourself out of a mess. But until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.